understanding of yourself and the world around you. It provides guidance on how to live an authentic, meaningful life according to the timeless wisdom of ancient and modern philosophers. The book is filled with practical advice on topics such as self-discipline, integrity, humility, relationships, gender roles, and more. With its powerful insight into the human condition, 12 Rules for Life provides readers with a roadmap for navigating life's complexities and finding meaning in every day. It will ultimately help you to become your best self. So if you're looking for an inspiring read that helps you understand yourself and the world around you, be sure to pick up a copy of 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson today. Idea 1. Stand tall. Serotonin is the hormone that regulates posture in lobsters. Serotonin levels are low in inferior lobsters. The same is true for human beings. When this hormone is missing, people lack confidence. Even worse, it causes an increase in suffering, gloom, misery, and illness across the board, including in human beings and crustaceans. In the dominance hierarchy, higher serotonin levels indicate more authority. As we ascend, we gain strength and self-assurance. When our confidence is high, we tend to have better health and less stress. Humans are protected against death by this hormone. As a result, serotonin is essential to maintain life. Early humans' ability to walk upright was an evolutionary adaptation that allowed them to employ both hands for tool use. These days, people choose to shrug their shoulders on purpose. You're on your own to shoulder the burdens of adulthood as you go along. Using tools is something of the past. Now we are something greater than that. We can make things happen by imposing order on an otherwise chaotic world. Be mindful of how you carry yourself. Refrain from slouching in favor of a more confident stance. Strive for self-confidence and declare what you think is right. You must learn to value your own wants and needs as highly as those of anyone else. In other words, you have every right to prioritize your own needs and desires. You'll feel more assured in yourself as the serotonin in your brain flows more freely thanks to your upright posture. Idea 2. Tend to your own needs first. In the event that your much-loved pet falls ill, you take it to the vet, acquire a prescription for medication, and do all you can to give it to your pet. When you're sick, however, you don't spring into action quite as quickly. When you got physical discomfort, you will go see a doctor. What if, though, it's your very soul that is suffering? When it comes to getting help, how likely are you to actually do so? According to Jordan B. Peterson, the interdependence of order and chaos is the key to understanding the motivations behind such actions. In the former case, you are operating in familiar terrain, where everything is set up according to your own standards. The latter is what lurks in the shadows of mystery, unseen but present. Men are seen as symbols of order since they are traditionally the ones that construct cities and establish schedules and laws. Since we all originate from the unknowable, a euphemism for the infinite potential to transform into anything, chaos will always be a feminine concept. The fact that we all try to put things right reflects the importance we place on maintaining some semblance of order in our chaotic world. On the other hand, an equal measure of disorder persists. It gives rise to every conceivable opportunity, both good and bad. Realizing that we are capable of either causes us to feel insecure, doubtful, and even repulsed by our own nature. It's no surprise that people don't jump to treatment at the first hints of disease. Sadly, many individuals place their dogs before their own needs. To begin, please identify yourself. We aren't just handed it. To make ourselves, we must. Hone your individuality. Start now by caring for yourself as you would for someone you're responsible for. Idea 3. If your problem is well-defined, it will be easier to solve. It can be tempting to ignore a problem in the hopes that it would go away on its own when facing adversity. If you want to avoid the stress, hopelessness, and depression that comes with facing your problems head-on, it's best to keep the peace. It is less painful to ignore the issue than it is to face it head-on. Perhaps you despise having to show up to work each day. Perhaps you find your partner's chewing habits to be intolerable. Perhaps you find yourself unable to force yourself out of bed in the morning and instead look at the ceiling. Perhaps you experience a constant low-grade fury. You can't put your finger on it, but it's easier to just try to get through the day without overthinking it. Without intervention, this will worsen until it causes a catastrophic breakdown. If you wait too long to take action, you will come to deeply regret it. Detail makes the uncontrollable manageable. As long as it remains indistinct, your concern will be a source of stress. Once you zero in on the root of the problem, you'll likely learn that your initial alarm was unwarranted. Wouldn't you want to know as soon as possible whether you have cancer in your body and exactly where it is so you can begin treatment? Why don't you be that direct and decisive with all of your other issues? Use precise language to bring order to the confusion. If you choose your words wisely and express yourself clearly, you may bring order out of chaos, create a new destination, and plot a course to get there. Accuracy distinguishes the truly horrible event from the many other, less severe ones that did not occur. When you first experience stomach pain, you may be faced with a wide range of alarming possibilities. Then you see a doctor who narrows down your list of potential diagnoses to one simple answer. You're no longer as worried because you know you can do something about your worry. Why should you expect any different results from your prior issues? You can't get anywhere in life without some sort of goal in mind. Moving about aimlessly will get you nowhere. You'll feel dejected, dissatisfied, and resentful as a result. Take care to avoid ambiguity. So what exactly is the issue? Just what are you looking for? Exactly why? Instead of the constant, slow discomfort brought on by neglect, you should suffer through the searing pain of specificity and confrontation. You'll see an improvement once the cause is discovered. Idea 4. This abstract world. It's simpler on us if we don't investigate, so that's what we usually do. Every day we see a simplified version of the world and live blissfully oblivious to its hidden complexity. To ensure the success of our objectives and ensure survival, we merely take in the bare minimum of information. When everything goes as planned, there's no reason to look under the surface. When we get in our cars and drive, we don't give a second thought to the human work that went into making the car or the electricity that keeps the streetlights on. All that matters to us is that the car makes it from A to B, because there is too much complexity to understand in ways that aren't immediately practical. We simplify our lives by abstracting away the world. When things aren't working as they should, you have to investigate this depth of complexity. This is total anarchy. Anxiety is prompted by a chaotic environment. If your car breaks down, you'll need to diagnose the problem, locate a reliable technician, make a strategy for paying for the repairs, and assess the impact on your budget. Are people on the road now more likely to do harm? Do you think I'm a bad driver? The underlying complexity of the world becomes readily apparent when the simplified world collapses. This is also true in interpersonal relationships. In a healthy couple, each partner brings something unique to the table, their own set of experiences, perspectives, and dreams. Everything can fall apart if one couple cheats on the other. What in the world could have caused this? Who exactly is the roommate I've been assigned? What was she thinking? In what way do we need to rewrite our own past? When things go wrong, we'll be safe thanks to our keen aim and vigilant focus. Idea 5. Surround yourself with loving people. Those who are most important to us at any one time are the ones we let into our lives. We seek out like-minded people when we're feeling upbeat, and we seek solace and support from those going through similar struggles when we're feeling down and out. It's normal to encounter people whose personalities turn you off. Psychologists maintain that the qualities you dislike in another person are the same ones you find most repulsive in yourself. In an attempt to feel less alone, some of us try to form neurotic victim-rescuer relationships. Of course, most people agree that doing good for others is the right thing to do. But the victims themselves may not require assistance. To the contrary, they wish to feed off the vitality of the one who comes to the rescue. A savior in this scenario is the narcissist because of how much pride they take in their actions. Having the fortitude to surround yourself with positive, supportive individuals takes strength. If you want to learn from them, they should be an example of maturity and independence. You need to exercise discretion, fortify your courage, and shield yourself from excessive sympathy and understanding. Idea 6. You shouldn't judge yourself by the standards of others. There will always be people who are more efficient at accomplishing goals than you are. Even if you're a good swimmer, you're not going to be Michael Phelps or Katie Ledecky. The phrase winner takes all is meant to evoke a sense of drama. Those who excel, however, receive greater rewards. Most of us are not very outstanding. To put it simply, we are regular folks who can occasionally sparkle or tarnish. Downs are inevitable, therefore we must learn to accept them. However, instead of measuring our achievement against that of others, we should look at our own performance over time. No one here is completely useless. Having that kind of harmful thought only makes things worse for us. If it helps, we need to conjure up an optimistic mirage and work toward making it true. Idea 7. It's important to hear what other people have to say. Hearing and listening are two different things, yet most of us choose to disregard it and go with the later option instead. We passively allow our brain to respond to the acoustic input of another person's voice. When we listen, on the other hand, we open ourselves up to the information being conveyed. They may potentially attach to our minds in this process and be absorbed by them. It can be difficult to understand the other person at times. Since they are putting their deepest feelings into words for the first time, this is a common occurrence. Some details may seem inconsistent as they are repeated, but that's not to say they're telling the truth either. Giving birth to the best possible language form for their ideas can take time. It's not uncommon for people to ramble on incoherently when they're processing a traumatic or emotionally charged incident because they're picking and choosing what to say. Listen carefully and people will tell you what they are really thinking almost without lying. You'll never have a dull discussion again after hearing all the crazy, fascinating, and absurd stories they have to tell. Idea 8. Be careful how you express yourself. As long as the things words represent are significant to us, our brains can turn reality into words. And so is the world around us. We get a handle on it and figure out how to use it. However, all things and phenomena in the world are interdependent and interconnected. We must be exceedingly specific and precise with the verbal forms, words, we employ to name them in order to extricate them from the rest of reality, and understand them. Careful language aids in self-awareness, social bonding, and clear communication. To an equal extent, this holds true for ourselves. The influence of others and external factors can affect these, however. When our normal environment breaks down, we are thrown into a condition of confusion. The term for this is unknown to us. That's why we have to work things out. When things were used to changing, it forces us to take action and open us up to new learning opportunities. You must have a crystal clear image of your past to understand where you came from and how your choices shaped who you are today. Introduce yourself to the individuals around you. Strike out a vast ocean of problems. Figure out what you care about and make progress toward it. Idea 9. If you want to improve, look at what you've accomplished in the past, not what others have done. Being successful while operating in a less competitive environment was once a common occurrence. However, with the advent of the web, even the idea of a local community has become obsolete. We live in a globalized world where there is always someone more accomplished than you, no matter where you are. The topic of self-criticism arises as a result of this discussion. Now, it's vital to be self-critical. If we weren't, we have nothing to work toward, no incentive to improve ourselves, and our lives would swiftly lose all significance. Happily, it's human nature to view the present as deficient and the future as holding great promise. Because of this propensity, we are able to maintain the drive to move forward and take action. When self-criticism centers solely on external comparisons, though, it can take on nasty overtones. As a result, we lose track of our development. To begin with, it encourages a binary way of thinking in which we are either successful or unsuccessful. This obscures the frequently subtle but ultimately decisive shifts in progress. When we compare ourselves to others, we tend to exaggerate the significance of little issues in our lives and miss the forest for the trees. Consider the possibility that upon reflection of the preceding 12 months, you realize that your work output lagged behind that of your colleagues. The feeling of being a complete and utter failure could come over you in an instant. But if you take a step back and examine your life as a whole, you may find that you have made significant strides in your family life. For this reason, the fourth guideline is to never evaluate your success based on how it stacks up to that of others, but rather to focus on the progress you've made in the past relative to your own standards. You can stay motivated by constantly comparing your current performance to that of the past. If you find yourself in a perpetual state of triumph, it's time to reevaluate your approach to risk-taking and setting goals that are sufficiently difficult to force you to grow. You should visualize yourself as a home inspector when evaluating your development. This requires a top-to-bottom analysis during which every issue is categorized. Is it merely a matter of appearance or does it affect the structure itself? Create a list of what must be fixed before you can grant your approval. If you focus too intently on yourself, you may forget to consider how you compare to others. Idea 10. Every parent has the ethical and moral obligation to bring up their children to be good people. You may have wondered whether the parents of a misbehaving child were just awful people or whether they were intelligent to let their kid wear himself out. The age-old nature versus nurture debate, as well as varying perspectives on the types of instincts we are born with, have both contributed to shifting perspectives on how best to raise children. The philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau popularized the idea in the 18th century that our ancient forebears were docile and innocent like children. They say that the corrupting effects of civilization are to blame for the bloody history of human conflict. However, we now know for sure that everyone is born with some degree of violent tendencies and must be taught to develop more civilized, peaceful character traits as they mature. Remember how violent children can be on a playground? Most businesses are a haven of peace in comparison. The author's fifth rule states that parents need to be more than a buddy in order to create a responsible and pleasant human being, and that this is the most important thing they can do to help their naturally aggressive child become a well-adjusted adult. One obstacle is that no one likes playing the bad guy. Children, however, are aggressive because they are hardwired to test limits in order to determine where they lie. Therefore, a parent needs to be tough and decisive while setting limits. This may not sound like fun, but consider the alternative. They will learn these lessons in a way that involves far less love and understanding if they don't learn them from a loving, understanding parent. Let's have a look at 3 fundamental techniques for effective parenting. One option is to strictly enforce the restrictions. When there are too many regulations, kids get upset because they keep running through roadblocks. Keep things simple by adhering to a few universally accepted rules, such as never biting, kicking, or hitting another person unless doing so is absolutely necessary to defend yourself. The second principle is to employ as little force as possible. Only when the repercussions of a mistake are made plain can discipline be implemented effectively and fairly. Also, the punishment should be proportional to the offense, meaning that it should be no harsher than is absolutely necessary to teach the child a lesson and prevent the same thing from happening again. A dissatisfied expression is sometimes all that's required, but other times it may take a week without video games to get the point over. Pair up for the third. Children are perceptive and will try to manipulate you by pitting you against each other, so it's crucial that you present a united front. It's important to have a partner who's kind and patient because every parent makes mistakes. Idea 11. Unfortunately, there is a lot of unfairness in the world, but that is no reason to place the blame on anyone else. There is no point in sugarcoating the truth. Life is full of difficulties and pain, but that shouldn't bring you down. However, many people throughout history have considered life so harsh and unfair that extreme measures were warranted. The Russian author Leo Tolstoy believed that life was so terribly unfair that one of four options was the only reasonable course of action: complete hedonism, suicide, or perseverance in the face of overwhelming odds. Based on his analysis, which can be seen in his essay A Confession, Tolstoy concludes that the most honest reaction is suicide, while continuing to struggle is indicative of his weakness and unwillingness to take the necessary decision. Others have reacted in the same way, but in murder-suicides like the ones at Sandy Hook and Columbine, they decided to take the lives of others as well as their own. Before June 2016, 1,260 days had passed in the United States with at least 1,000 shootings in which 4 or more people were killed, often followed by the shooter taking his or her own life. But despite Tolstoy's gloomy outlook, you shouldn't blame the world no matter how much pain you through or how cruel and unjust life seems to you. The sixth rule of life is essentially this: look in the mirror before passing judgment on the world. One other Russian author, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, held that one may choose to ignore life's brutality even when it was being directed at them. Despite his service against the Nazis during World War II, Solzhenitsyn was incarcerated by his own state after the war. It was bad enough that he was serving a sentence in a Russian prison when he learned he had cancer. But Solzhenitsyn never felt sorry for himself or blamed anyone else for his predicament. He took responsibility for his part in helping to bring about his imprisonment at the hands of the Communist Party and resolved to use his remaining time for good. His actions included penning the book The Gulag Archipelago, which documented his time in Soviet labor camps and served as a scathing criticism of their brutality. The book was essential in eradicating the last vestiges of sympathy for Stalin's version of communism in the world's academic communities. Idea 12. Do the important things and your life will mean more. So there will always be suffering in the world. The universe isn't always fair, though. Most likely, nothing we do now will matter in 100 million years. What should you do when you find out something like this? One possible answer is to take the easy way out. Give in to your urges and put off making any big changes that will last for a long time. If giving in to your lowest desires is what makes you feel good today, then do it. So, what if you have to lie, cheat, or steal to get what you want? In other words, do them even though you know you will regret it later. We aren't blind to the fact that we know better, but still do this. We know that we have to work hard now to get what we want in the future. To reach our long-term goals, we need to put off short-term pleasures, like going out to a party, in order to do the work we need to do today. Strong biological tendencies are a problem. They helped us survive in the Stone Age, but they hold us back now. Overeating 100,000 years ago helped us survive a period of famine. Today it leads to obesity. On a deeper level of awareness, though, it's harder to answer the question, why? Where do we decide what is good and worth doing and what isn't? In his book 12 Rules for Life, Peterson talks about this topic. He says that it's clear that some things are bad and that deliberate human evil is the worst of these. Even if they haven't read a philosophy book, most people agree that Auschwitz, mass shootings, slavery, and seeing other people suffer are all bad. You probably think the world would be a better place if these kinds of things never happened. If there is evil, then there must also be good, which is the opposite of evil. Good is what stops evil from happening. Less misery is caused by the good things in the world. The Unions stand against slavery in the Civil War, and the Allies stand against the Holocaust in World War II, are two extreme examples that show that it is good to stand against evil. Even though there is a range of activities from the best to the worst, any action that makes even a small amount of bad go away is a good one. To help a friend out of a bind, you might have to give them advice. This could mean taking steps to improve your own health, so that you have more time and energy to give to charity work. This could mean giving other people the tools they need to do good things, like Peterson does by making it clear what is right and what is wrong. Those who work hard to make the world a better place are rewarded, When you do something important, you'll be safer and stronger than if you just thought about yourself. Your actions will have an effect on you. Because of this, you will have a more optimistic view of life and be better able to deal with the horrors and wrongs in the world. Think about Socrates, who had the courage to stand up for his ideas at his trial, say what was true, and accept his death with dignity. Peterson says that doing good is the cure for moping. By doing good, you make up for your own mistakes and the mistakes of the world. Mature people want meaning instead of ease. The way of the coward is to look for the easiest way out. This is because it lacks the foresight and intelligence to plan ahead, the courage and sacrifice, and the willingness to take responsibility. Having a reason to live helps you control your urges and see how important it is to work to make the world a better place. Meaning makes every wish come true by giving life a reason for being. Think to yourself, what can I do today to make the world a little bit better? Look for the sky. You need to pay attention. Fix what needs to be fixed. What's more, what's your most basic personality? Who do you need to become now that you know more? What small changes you can make in how you act would have a big effect on the world? For success in the future, you have to make some kind of sacrifice. If you want to change a lot, you might have to give up a lot. Turning the question around, what is the most important sacrifice someone can make, and what will they get out of it? By doing this, you change the very nature of reality and get what you want. Idea 13, order and chaos. Those who go into chaos are going where no one has been before. Things and situations that we don't fully understand are the most confusing. It's the place you end up after getting fired, the dangerous person you meet on the street, or the big, scary goal you've been working toward. It's where new ideas and opportunities come from. The idea of order is something new. It gives you a strong base. It's the way we've always done things and how we treat each other that lets us sleep well at night. On the other hand, it can be concentration camps, fascism, or, less dramatically, a lack of growth and stagnation in one's own life. We are proud of the fact that our organization has a clear chain of command. When tragedy strikes, a lover cheats on you, or you lose your job, all of these are examples of times when we have to give up order in favor of chaos, and all of them are bad. But order on its own isn't enough. There are still important lessons to learn. It is always best to stay right in the middle. A happy medium where there is enough structure to feel grounded and enough uncertainty to encourage growth. This is where you can find something important. Okay, let's sum it all up. These are all the main ideas of the book 12 Rules for Life. Idea 1. Stand tall. Idea 2. Attend to your own needs first. Idea 3. If your problem is well defined, it will be easier to solve. Idea 4. This abstract world. Idea 5. Surround yourself with loving people. Idea 6. You shouldn't judge yourself by the standards of others. Idea 7. It's important to hear what other people have to say. Idea 8. Be careful how you express yourself. Idea 9. If you want to improve, look at what you've accomplished in the past, not what others have done. Idea 10. Every parent has the ethical and moral obligation to bring up their children to be good people. Idea 11. Unfortunately, there's a lot of unfairness in the world, but that is no reason to place the blame on anyone else. Idea 12. Do the important things and your life will mean more. Idea 13. Order and chaos.